Hello, Ray Phoenix here, and this is Wipeout 3 Special Edition, being played on Phantom difficulty. This is the Wipeout League. This is pretty much just a league of all the regular Wipeout 3. They're the exact same tracks that are in the regular original release of Wipeout 3, but this is Wipeout 3 Special Edition, where it's the exact same thing as regular Wipeout 3, but it has a few improvements, the most notable one being that autopilot is actually useful in this version. Using autopilot actually allows you to get through levels pretty fast, actually, and without actually hitting any of the walls. This is Phantom difficulty. One of the things that makes Phantom difficulty is the fact that the game plays at an intense speed, the fastest speed you could possibly get in a PS1 Wipeout game. And I'm playing as one of my personal favorites in this game, Piranha. Piranha was a specialty unlockable ship in Wipeout XL, but Piranha kind of sucked in Wipeout XL. Well, sure, it was really fast and really durable, but the biggest flaw was that it can't pick up weapons or actually use weapons. So it pretty much gives all the computer opponents or the other opponents an unfair advantage. But this time around, Piranha is pretty much, allowed to have weapons just as much as any of the other contestants are. So Piranha could actually really, pack a powerful punch in this game. This probably is the best version of Piranha I've ever seen in any Wipeout game ever. And it's in Wipeout 3. And to make this even more slightly ironic, Piranha is one of 4 ships in this game. It's unlockable right from the beginning, unlike Wipeout XL, where it was a specialty unlockable ship. It's unlocked right from the beginning. It's actually a really good ship, quite possibly, like I said, quite possibly one of the best in this game, as it gives it to you right from the beginning. There's no unlocking required. This is the first level in the game. Porto Cora is what it's called. This is a pretty iconic track for a lot of Wipeout 3 fans, because most people play Wipeout 3 for the first time. This is the first level that they would be playing, because it's considered to be the first level in the game. I'm already far ahead. That's how awesome Piranha is. I'm already far ahead from all the competition. It's flying for this level like well over 5. I don't know what unit of measurement that is. I'm pretty sure that's kilometers per hour. I've just dealt with people recently. They have no idea what imperial measurements are. They never heard of imperial before, and they have no idea it exists. I thought everyone knew imperial existed. The United States uses imperial system, and I thought everyone knew about the United States using imperial measurements, but I guess not everyone seems to know about. You'd be surprised what kinds of things people know about and what people don't know about. A lot of people don't seem to know that this Wipeout series exists. A lot of people just think Wipeout was just a show that aired on ABC, and that was it. A lot of people don't know that there was actually a game series called Wipeout that has absolutely nothing to do with the ABC show. I mean, this is technically still a current series. The most recent game I know of is the one that came out on the PS4 in 2017, if they're around then. It has tons of games. There's way more games than Twisted Metal, way more games than Ape Escape. And its most recent installment's much newer than Ape Escape and Twisted Metal and Jumping Flash and all those other franchises that Sony owns that they forgot about. Regular Wipeout 3 was the first Wipeout game to get exclusively released on a PlayStation system. The first Wipeout game, it was the first Wipeout game to get released exclusively on a PlayStation system. It did not get it, unlike the first 2 Wipeouts, it did not get a PC release, nor did it get released on any Sega systems or any other non-PlayStation systems. Because this game came out shortly after Psygnosis, the company that made this game, got bought out by Sony and later became Studio Liverpool, which would go on to make a lot of the later subsequent Wipeout games that came out after this one. This game is considered to be, like I said, it's a really good masterpiece for Wipeout fans. This is like a definitive, like Wipeout 3 Special Edition specifically is a definitive PS1 racing Wipeout experience. I never knew about this when I was a kid because, well, this only came out in Europe and I never lived in Europe, so I never really knew about this until 2020, which was years after I got the very original Wipeout 3. I still have my copy of Wipeout 3 from way back in the day. It still has Blockbuster tags on it from when it was bought at Blockbuster back in 2000. Yeah, I always like to leave tags on things to remind me where I got them from. And to serve as proof that some of those stores actually existed, like Blockbuster, for example. I mean, I'm sure everyone remembers Blockbuster, at least most people think will, but future generations are not as likely to know about Blockbuster, so that's why I left the tags on them, so that way you can prove that, oh, Blockbuster really did exist. I did the same thing with a game store that I worked at for a few months back in 2015. I left the tags from that store on some of my games to prove that this store actually existed. A friend of mine was really, really bent on preserving memories of the store to make sure the store actually, makes sure the store, lives on in history so it doesn't get forgotten. It's kind of like those people try to preserve lost media. They want everything to live on and never get forgotten, which is kind of the philosophy behind people want to preserve lost media and preserve stuff from getting lost, which is one of the things that archive.org supposedly stands for. I use archive.org all the time for backing up my video files and other text files. works of art, because the philosophy behind archive.org is that it's supposed to back up and protect your stuff. And that's exactly what I use it for. I've been traveling Australia for the past year, and I don't have any of my portable hard drives that I have back at home. I always back up my stuff on Seagate portable hard drives. I have an older one that I got back in 2017 that I still use, and I got a newer one that I got back in 2020 that has 4 terabytes of storage on it. I haven't been able to use those since I left them overseas, but when I come back, I'm going to definitely I'm going to have a field day with those things. I'm going to be backing up all these videos I made, as well as all my art, stories. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm going to back up stuff from the micro SD card in my Samsung Galaxy A53 phone, because that phone's possessed by the devil. It randomly opens apps. It randomly opens up software. It randomly changes settings. And it does it in a way where you can't set them back. It changed Google Chrome in it to Italian, and I don't speak Italian at all. There's no way to change it back. That phone clearly has something wrong with it. It's like it's possessed by the devil. I need to get a phone exorcist to get the virus or whatever it is out of that phone. Definitely need to have it serviced later, but when it would work fine, it actually is really good at playing Wipeout Pre-Special Edition. I actually played Wipeout Pre-Special Edition on that Samsung Galaxy A53 phone. The screen looks really good, the resolution is very good, and using this cool connector thing I have that allows you to plug regular USB stuff into a USB Type-C port. I could actually use my actual PS1 controller to play this game on my Samsung Galaxy A53 phone. It is awesome. I remember demonstrating that to some people, and I felt like Leo Laporte when he's demonstrating some cool technology gizmo, some kind of technology gadget thing to people. I felt that was really, that was an impressive feature I think the A53 has. I'm sure my A04S phone, which is the phone I'm using to record this commentary right now, it's the one Samsung phone I have that's not possessed by the devil, so that's why I use it a lot more. It's really good too. It's a good microphone. The processor isn't as good as the processor in the Samsung Galaxy A53, simply because it's of a lower grade than the A53, but it still works really good. It still works really good. I'm pretty sure it could also work with a PS1 controller too, but I would never know, because my PS1 controller is also stuck overseas, and I'm not there right now, so I have no way of testing that right now. But when I do test it, I probably will make a video about that eventually. It's going to be definitely a subject for a future YouTube video. I have a lot of YouTube video plans for next year, though. There's going to be so much stuff. My YouTube account's going to explode with content. It already is exploding with content right now. And next year looks like it's going to be no different. I'm going to keep uploading stuff, and next year's the year of the dragons. I'm going to do Let's Plays of all the Spyro games. Oh boy, what an epic year that's going to be. And the one problem I have with playing games in the A53 is that the screen is very small, but again, it has nothing to do with the fact that it's a budget phone. That's just phones in general were never intended for gaming. Remember Boogie2988 or whatever his name was made a long rant once where he once said that a phone is a phone, it's just for taking calls and texts. It's not for playing games, just like how his butt isn't for playing games either. It's just for taking a crap, pretty much. And that's all it's for. It's not for playing games. He did all the funniest rants. And then he would make Mountain Dew stew. I just recently watched that documentary on Boogie2988. I actually find it kind of inspiring, actually. How he pretty much just went from having so much to then having nothing, all because of stupid mistakes. It's like it's trying to tell us, oh, don't make stupid mistakes or you'll end up like him, kind of thing. I actually do find studying locales on the internet to actually be kind of inspiring. It makes me feel better about myself. It makes me realize that maybe I am not such a locale afterwards, or after all, and that now I'm actually, I actually do have a better chance at. I've been trying to pump along to this YouTube channel for the last 6 years. I've always wanted to get monetized, but I've never had enough hits for that, because I just started being on YouTube shortly before YouTube introduced that dumb rule that how you have to have a certain amount of subscribers and viewers to get monetized. And YouTube does other sus stuff too. Apparently they're really crucifying people for using ad blocks. I don't necessarily agree with ad blocks, with ad blockers or things like that, but apparently YouTube seems to hate them, and well, I understand why, but hey, but then people get banned from YouTube for using them. I wonder if they'll like my Raspberry Pi 400 thing. So when I use my Raspberry Pi 400, I use a Chromium browser to go on YouTube. Ads never seem to show up. It's like it's ad-free YouTube for free, like using Chromium, which actually works really well for watching YouTube videos. Sure, the resolution is not really the best, but it still works pretty well. I remember demonstrating that in a video I made almost a year ago where I demonstrate the Raspberry Pi 400 in action, and I play this exact same game on the Raspberry Pi 400 too. And it works really good. It has really good performance, it runs really well, it plays very well. It actually sometimes plays better than it does on this Windows PC. I actually think the Raspberry Pi is better for playing emulated games than a Windows PC is. But like I said, ones that play PS2 games still have yet to be invented. It still has yet to happen. I don't know when that will happen, but I could only, wait for that to happen. In the meantime, I just have to settle with the one that only plays PS1 games. It actually does play Sega Dreamcast games as well, too, and PSP games. Speaking of PSP games, I was just reminded about how big of a scam Star Wars Battlefront 2 on the PSP is. Star Wars Battlefront 2 on the PSP is a really big scam. It omits so many of the maps from the home console and PC versions. It omits so much content, so much stuff, and the main story mode is gone. Pretty much everything that made the home console version, PC versions really awesome is gone from the PSP version. And no one really believed me, too. I told people the PSP version's a scam, and they didn't really believe me. Like, come on, how could this not be in the PSP version? Well, it's not. I don't really like the PSP version of Battlefront 2 for that reason. Sure, I played a lot as a kid because it was all I had when I was a kid before I had any of the other versions, but now that I have other versions, and I have Star Wars Battlefront Renegade Squadron as well too, which is by all means a way better game than the PSP version of Star Wars Battlefront 2, so what's the point of playing Star Wars Battlefront 2? I ran Star Wars Battlefront Renegade Squadron on the Raspberry Pi, and it works really good. I just can't play it right now because I don't have a controller right now. The game definitely requires a controller to run, and there's no way RetroArch could, because it didn't map the controller, change the control mappings in RetroArch, but it could only work with like a certain set of keys, and they all seem to be stuck on the left side of the keyboard, and it's very limited. There's no way to like emulate like analog control on RetroArch using a keyboard. If I had a controller, I could, but I don't have a controller, which is the whole point of this problem. So, yeah, I have no way of playing Star Wars Battlefront Renegade Squadron for the time being. But when I get access to my controller again, I'm probably going to do a Let's Play of that game. Because that game actually does have a story mode, which is, pretty good. And there's other cool modes in the game, too. It actually is an underrated Star Wars game, Star Wars Battlefront Renegade Squadron. It even does stuff that the PS2 version of Battlefront 2 couldn't even do. It has Geonosis battles in the Clone Wars mode. It even has Ben Kenobi as a playable character, which apparently he was going to be playable in Star Wars Battlefront 2, but got cut from the game. I've been watching a lot of videos of Star Wars Battlefront 2, mostly because the algorithms on YouTube have been serving a lot of stuff up, and I played a lot lately. Things you didn't know about Star Wars Battlefront 2. It's like it just suddenly became popular again for no apparent reason. I remember I had a tradition once where I would play Star Wars Battlefront 2 during the Super Bowl instead of watching the Super Bowl. Star Wars Battlefront 2, even the PSP version, is way more fun than watching the Super Bowl. It's way more fun than watching War of the Rings, and it's way more fun than watching Star Trek V, so I guess it's not the worst thing ever. I mean, watching videos on Wipeout Free Special Editions is even better than watching the Super Bowl. Wipeout Free, or Wipeout in general, this would be an ideal, racing. I can imagine people in the future would watch this on TV, they'd watch Wipeout races, they'd probably bet on them. And apparently there's corporate scandals and things that happen behind the different racing classes, the different racing ships that exist in this game. I can imagine someone might want to use these for awards kind of thing, like the battleship to fight in a war or something like that. Yeah, racing, yeah. A war that's fought simply by racing. That all sounds like a premise for a potential future racing game. And honestly, a Wipeout game is the future racing game in general. I've also been trying to hunt down similar Wipeout games, games similar to Wipeout. The closest game I found that's similar to Wipeout is Quantum Redshift for the original Xbox. And it was made by a lot of the same people who made these Wipeout games. It didn't work on Wipeout Fusion, which is pretty much Wipeout 4. So I guess that's why Wipeout 4 wasn't that good. Wipeout Fusion was disappointing. It's probably my least favorite Wipeout game there is, but I think a lot of the same people who make these games went back to work on Wipeout with Wipeout Pure and Wipeout Pulse on the PSP. Those Wipeout games run really well on the Raspberry Pi 400. And they constantly crash all the time when I play them on my Windows PC, so I guess it's a major score for the Raspberry Pi 400. It's better than Windows a lot of times. It's better than using a Windows PC a lot of the time. I give it praise for that. I think that's, really awesome that it could, play games without crashing. That actually is a very impressive thing. If only it were more powerful, if it could run, more stuff, which it likely will eventually in the future, and then, Raspberry Pi very well can become the dominant PC in the world, the most epic and most awesome computer there is. Most awesome computer there is. I was almost killed there for a second, but I got lucky. I got a shield, and I got to go to that thing that refills your health on the side of the track. So it was like that pit stop thing from Gran Turismo 2, but it refills your health. I think Wipeout is a lot better than Gran Turismo. I used to love Gran Turismo as a kid, but I look back at it now and I realize, yeah, I think this is overrated. Well, Gran Turismo is kind of an overrated series in my opinion. It's not bad. I just like Ridge Racer a lot more. And I like Wipeout a lot more too. Wipeout is always fun. Wipeout doesn't make you do constant BS license tests and with BS controls and BS standards and things like that. Wipeout just lets you simply play the game and have fun, which is what these games are supposed to be about. If you want a fun experience, go play a Wipeout game, especially the PS1 Wipeout games. The PS1 Wipeout games are the best. And they're easily emulated these days too. This game I could very well play with my Windows PC with a keyboard. I know because that's how I'm playing this game. I'm using a keyboard to play this game. That's actually somewhat easy, because all you really do in this game is you just hold down the X button, or in this case it's the Z key on my keyboard, to accelerate, and you just press left or right to dot, to steer, and then press the X key, which is mapped as a circle button on the PS1 controller, to use your weapons, and yeah, that's all there is to it really. It's very simple. That's actually is a problem for some of the later Wipeout games. I tried playing the PSP Wipeout games on this keyboard, and it's near impossible to play a lot of this, because in Wipeout Pure and Wipeout Pulse, you're not only are you just moving left to right, you're also using the triggers, what you call them, like the R button and the L button, to dart left and dart right, kind of like quickly, like do sharp turns. It does require a lot of that. And that's hard to do on a keyboard because, well, it's already hard enough to press so many keys at a time on a keyboard, especially because of how they're mapped too. It's almost impossible to play. I mean, I did figure out a way to do it, but even then, it's still far from ideal. They crash a lot too. They're constantly crashing, so PC sucks at running PSP emulators. But yeah, it could run GameCube emulators and Wii emulators just fine, implying that, maybe those are easier to emulate than PSP, but yet the Raspberry Pi could do it perfectly fine. Something's up here. I wonder if this is something with RetroArch. Maybe that's more the reason why people don't like RetroArch that much. Unless you're using it on a system like an Xbox 360 or a PS3 or something like that. Or even a Raspberry Pi or a phone. I have RetroArch on my phone and it seems to work pretty good. With a controller, that is. But even then, a lot of games, like N64 doesn't emulate at all. And then again, N64 is a challenging system to emulate anyways. Even the Raspberry Pi struggles running N64. And even some PCs have trouble running N64, so that's not really that surprising. But some PS1 games don't play very well. I also got, Duck Station running on it, but Duck Station crashes quite a bit. And Duck Station's the emulator I'm using for this right now, technically speaking. It's RetroArch, I keep saying. It's not an emulator itself. It's a collective of emulators, a conglomerate of emulators. And I'm using Duck Station and RetroArch. I don't really know much how it compares to Duck Station being used on its own, because I don't think I ever really used it, except for that time I used it on my phone once, I think. I never really used Duck Station on a PC, just like the standalone Duck Station that's not in RetroArch. Don't really know how it works. One of the things I didn't really like about Wipeout 3 as a kid growing up was that the color palette in this game I find is very inferior to the color palette of the first two Wipeout games. I find that the color scheme of this game is very dull and bland, and the colors aren't really that. I mean, that seems like very industrial. It's almost like how the first Wipeout was kind of industrialized and I would say dystopian, like a post-apocalyptic world or a dystopian world. This game doesn't seem dystopian at all. It actually seems like the world is nicer nowadays, or it's nicer, more of a times of peace. But everything seems to be dull in this game. One thing I do praise the game for is that the graphics are ultra smooth. These are the smoothest graphics I've ever seen on the PS1. I didn't even think it was possible for the PS1 to produce textures and graphics that are this smooth and for it to run this smoothly, but it does. Then again, Wipeout XL was pretty smooth too, and that game came out 3 years earlier. And that game looked pretty smooth as well too, and played pretty good too, so... Wipeout XL is still technically my favorite Wipeout game there is. It does have the best levels, I think, in the Wipeout series, and the best ships, and the best... And I think the soundtrack is better. This soundtrack in this game is actually not the best, but you would never know that because all the music in this game is copyrighted. And then so I replaced it with different music that might fit this game better. It's not copyrighted. I think the original Wipeout had the best soundtrack. starting to think this game is actually better than the original Wipeout. It doesn't have all those BS moments that the original Wipeout has more content, controls better, plays a lot better. This game the original Wipeout 3 came out 4 years after the original Wipeout. So I guess it makes sense why it's a lot better. It's a lot better, and it's a later PS1 game too, or kind of the prime. I guess you could say this game came out when PS1 was in its prime, around 1999, 2000. We've seen the best of what the system could do. Games back then were very, pushing the limits and becoming very advanced for what the system was capable of doing. Some of the games that demonstrated that were games like Spyro 3, Year of the Dragon, Twisted Metal 4. Those are games that are pretty, have a lot to offer, that are pretty highly advanced compared to very early PS1 games. PS1's also quite possibly the most diverse system that I can think of. When it was new, it had stuff that looked like SNES games, kind of like Philosoma or stuff like that, where it looks like something that could be an SNES game. But within the next few years, eventually, it evolved and rapidly grew to a point where it had stuff like Spyro on it, and Crash Bandicoot 3 and Ape Escape. The game really did come a long way, and it really did change a lot over the years. It probably is, like I said, really is the most rapidly changing system that I know of. And it has more games than any other gaming system that I know of, or at least my biggest gaming collection ever is definitely my PS1 collection. I have more games for PS1 than I do for any other system ever. For that very reason, it's such a wide, vast system, it's a wide, vast library of games. And it's like, you could probably that's part of the reason why I don't own any modern systems. I could pretty much, there's so many games in the PS1 that I could probably just live off PS1 games for the rest of my life and never need to buy another system again. Just PS1, nothing but PS1 for eternity. I guess that's where that saying comes from, that slogan or catchphrase they used for the slim PS1 years later in the early 2000s, where it says whenever, wherever, forever. Yeah, I guess it really is living up to its word then, because it's it's like over 2 decades later and I'm still playing and it's still giving me, a lot of entertainment and stuff like that well over 2 decades later. So I guess it really is, living up to its word. I had a slim PS1 once, but my father broke it in 2010 when he spent over 300 hours playing Twisted Metal 2 on it. Twisted Metal 2 and Wipeout 3 were his 2 favorite PS1 games. He'd play those all the time. I think he also played Wipeout 3 during that time too, because I also lent him my copy of Wipeout 3. Oh yes, Wipeout 3. Of course it's a classic. Everyone should know this game. This game should be taught in schools. Everyone should know what Wipeout 3 is and the masterpiece of what it is. More people played Wipeout 3, our world would probably be, I don't know, it probably would be the same actually. I don't think playing Wipeout 3 would actually make people less aggressive or less likely to commit crimes or anything like that. So we're already in the final level already, and so it's supposed to be some sort of cave. It's called Terminal, I think, or something like that. Yeah, apparently airport terminals nowadays are built in rock formations or cave formations or something like that. There's a lot of advertisements on the side, but pretty much all the advertisements in this game are for things directly related to Wipeout, like the Visar's Fair kind of thing, or like Fly Piranha or something like that, or Let's Be Friends, an ad for some ship class in this game or something. But pretty much all the ads are just for things within the game. Which is typical for the Wipeout series, because the Wipeout series has always been known to have advertising for things or advertisements. It's pretty much always for fictional products, except for the time Red Bull was advertised in Wipeout XL, and Wipeout XL later encouraged me to drink Red Bull. Many months ago, pretty much almost a year ago, I did a video of Wipeout XL, and that was before, and I remember saying, oh look, improve reaction time with Red Bull, seeing Red Bull ads appear everywhere in that game, and back then, I had no idea what Red Bull tasted like, but now that I realize that I need something more than coffee to keep me jolted during the day, I've turned to drinking Red Bull. I mostly know the name Red Bull because the first energy drink I was ever introduced to, and I only know about it really because of Wipeout XL. That's why I like drinking Red Bull a lot, because of Wipeout XL. So yeah, I drink that now instead of coffee now, because coffee just doesn't cut it for me anymore. It's Red Bull all the way. Red Bull. Improve reaction time with Red Bull. Yeah, Red Bull definitely would help me play through a game like Wipeout. You need to drink a lot of Red Bull if you want to become a master at Wipeout. Then again, I kind of mastered the Wipeout games long before I started drinking Red Bull, so I consider myself to be a master at these games simply because I've been playing them a lot. I'm actually surprised this run turned out as well as it did, because I remember Phantom. I really struggled hard with Phantom mode when I started playing on Phantom mode, but now I play through Phantom mode right now, and guys win by large margins. It's unreal. I mean, am I really that good at this game? I'm trying to think that maybe I've played this game so many times that I'm just, like a master at it. It's almost to a point where the hardest difficulty in the game is even that challenging anymore. I'm not really challenged by any of this anymore. This game isn't challenging anymore. Nothing about Wipeout 3 Special Edition is challenging anymore. The only challenge you could possibly get in the game now is like playing some of the other challenges in the game, like maybe the race mode, or like what do you call it, the tournament, or maybe the time trial challenges, the weapons challenges. That's right, there's weapons challenges in this game. This kind of becomes like Twisted Metal, where you're supposed to destroy a certain number of ships before the race is over, so then you'll have weapons you can use them to destroy ships and things like that. And they called it Eliminator mode. I think this mode was later used in some of the other Wipeout games. It becomes a downright battle action game. So there, Phantom mode has been completed and I got gold medals on all the races. This is Ray Phoenix, signing out.